Matthew chapter 7, verse 3 through 5. There's a scripture here that many of us have heard before, but I'll read it to you. It says, "And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, 'Let me remove the speck from your eye,' and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite! First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." Right? So he's saying, hey, before we start criticizing other people and looking at other people, wait a second. Look at what's going on in your own life. Now, I have this example that sometimes I share when I talk about the scripture, something that was revelatory to me. And a revelation or revelatory just means an unveiling. And I feel like God unveiled some of this scripture for me. So when I hold up this piece of paper right here, I don't know how the camera's zooming in or not, but can you see it? What do you see on it right now? Go ahead, say it out loud. Say it out loud. All right, what is it that you see right now on this piece of paper? Okay? Now, for most of you, if you're able to see it clearly, you're going to see a dot. You're going to see a mark. You're going to see that dark spot that I put on there. However, how many of us know there's much more? There's all this white part to it, right? Now, I put that mark on there. Yes, that's true, but that's where our eyes get drawn to. Our eyes get drawn to the dark spots. Our eyes get drawn to that which is negative around us. In fact, many people in our life, what it is that they look at and look for the negative things. And that's what happens sometimes when people start looking at the negative things in us. Then all of a sudden we start mimicking and doing the same thing and looking for the negative things in others. And this is what the Bible is saying here in Matthew 7. Hey, don't look at the speck, right? That's the speck, right? Don't look at the speck when you have a plank in your own eye. So what is that plank? Think about it for a second, right? If all I can see when I look at you is what's negative, if all I can see when I look at you is darkness, then what does that make me? Let me perhaps show you, right? If all I see when I look at you is darkness, does that mean I can see? No, it means that I'm blind. If all I see is darkness, it means blindness. And for some of us, we've had some people in our life that when they've seen us, all they've seen is darkness. All they've seen is what's wrong. Again, let's shift our perspective. Here God's saying, no, they're the ones with the plank in their eyes. You might have a few specks, but don't listen to the plank-eyed people. Don't listen to the blind. If you have sight, don't listen to those that are blinded right now by everything that's wrong and everything that's negative. Because then we too, if we're following the voices of blindness, then we get blind ourselves. That's what we do, begin mimicking that. And we begin thinking, well, if that's what's right, I'm going to notice everything that's wrong too. How many of us have friends that all they see is what's wrong? And I tell you, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's wrong in others or to see what's wrong in this world. But it is something different when you begin seeing what's right. And we have to start looking at, first of all, God is with us and wants to communicate what is right to us. He wants to tell you who you are. He wants to point out what He created and put inside of you. And when you start seeing clearly what He's done and what He's doing, you can also clearly see what's not Him. All right? You can begin seeing the things inside of you that, no, that part's not God. If God is this, if God says that I'm this, then this other part that is contrary to that is not God. And then you see the parts that God wants to begin working on. All right? You are not the label. You are not that negative speck. So don't allow yourselves to be thinking that. Don't allow ourselves to move to that thinking, man, everything's wrong with me. I'm just a terrible person. No. Don't allow those that are blind to dictate to you who you are. At the same time, don't follow that, because then we follow the path of blindness as well.